Hello and welcome to day 7 of our JuNEWary challenge 2024. We are over halfway through now, or we've done the halfway point. We're going to move on. We're going on to page 2 and we have 2 lines today, and there's a feeling of space after the busyness of our previous few days. There's a feeling of openness. There's some more standard octave and fifth type left hand parts to it, which will make these 2 lines feel really straightforward, I think. And musically, it's like a breath of fresh air from the busyness, and it had that absolutely had its place. And then a little bit of breathing room before whatever happens tomorrow. Okay, I will play it for you first. I'm starting with the last 2 quavers, the last 2 eighth notes that were left over from the end of day 5. They're at the last end part of bar 24. Didn't really teach about those in that session because they are leading us to what we're doing next. So I'll play it for you first, starting with those 2 notes upbeat, and it will go like this: 2, 3. Okay, so lots of space. It's also marked up with the word rubato, so you can pull around with the time there. I've kind of chosen just to make it a little bit more, really relish in that space by making the spaces even bigger. Technically, rubato means robbed time, which means that if I steal it from somewhere, I have to give it back somewhere else. So if I speed up somewhere, I need to go more gently somewhere else. Or if I take it a bit more gently in one place, I need to speed up somewhere else. These 2 areas, these 2 lines marked up with rubato, are the only part of this piece marked up rubato. So any stealing or giving needs to happen within these 2 lines. Effectively though, really, I treat rubato more as allow yourself to feel and go with it. Okay, this isn't a classical piece of music. This isn't a piece of music where you need to be really rigid and mathematical with your timing. So allow yourself just to feel it a little bit in this slightly more spacious place. So I'm going to start with the top hand. We have the 1, 2 at the end of the previous section. So we go 1 and then we put the thumb straight back and then we open up to this rolled chord. We've had that rolled chord before. We had it at the beginning of bar 21, beginning of the previous line. 1, 2, tariyam. Heading up from that bottom note, tariyam. Then we've got a bit of breathing room and we move to 3 in a row, B, C, D. And then we need to get to G and B. So you can go 3, 2, 1, leap. Okay, you can do that so long as you're always confident of landing on it. If that feels panicky, it would be great to place it, but that involves a different skill. So we would go 3, 2, and then open up a triad. Nice and easy, just let those fingers drop out. No need to curl over, just let them drop open. We play the thumb, and then we just have this slight challenge of playing these 2 notes at the same time. I find that easier if I'm not looking at them. Now, what often happens is we get a little bit of a or when we try and play those 2 fingers without a thumb involved. If you find that you are playing one slightly ahead of the other, and you may not notice it, but if you recorded yourself, you'd go, oh yeah, I can hear it then. It goes boom instead of boom. If you find yourself doing that, one of the best tricks in the world is to not try and sort it out, try and put it right, but go, okay, I'm just going to try and reverse it. So if when you play it, 1 lands earlier, let's say it's finger 3 and you go 3, 2, just try and intentionally go 2, 3. And what you'll find, not trying to slow it down, trying to play at the same speed, but intentionally going with 2, 3, it will balance out the the physical, whatever it was that created you doing 3 and 2, by intentionally trying to put the 2 ahead, your body's still trying to put the 3 ahead, they'll land at the same time. Okay, or if you were playing finger 2 first and you were going, not that slowly, but it might be, then try and play finger 3 first without changing anything else, and you'll find they're much more likely to land together. Okay. A great skill to work on if you've not done much of that before. It can be very handy with placing to be able to do. Okay, the other thing I do is, having played my thumb, is I try and get my hand the palm of my hand quite close to my fingers. So they're really not having to pull a long way. I'm not trying to do anything daft. Okay, so just put that bit together. We're going to go 1, 2, tadiam, da dee da chung. Okay, are we ready together? At the end of that previous line, it's just an A and a G coming back to our shape. Okay, I'll give you counting. 1 and 2 and 3 and 2. Place and. So lots of time to do that placing there. Okay, I'm going to put the left hand underneath that now. Left hand starts with an octave and a fifth, one of those. The open up A, E, A. Then it's tied on, loads of space, and we move up, same size, same shape, octave and a fifth, to an E chord, and this one is rolled. Okay. Now the reason I've gone straight to looking at this rather than spending ages doing more and more and more of that top hand is because that's going to feed in to our playing of the top hand there. So let's try it hands together, or maybe I will and you can listen if you want, just so that we can work out about that bar with the left hand rolled chord, the top hand being a straight chord, not rolled, and being a 2-3. So it'll go like this: 1, 2, 3. Left hand getting ready, and taliam. Okay, so the top note, da da dum, is the top note of the rolled chord, is what needs to be on the beat, and that needs to land with the top hand. So you might do a bit of work on that. So your left hand's got a thumb, your top hand's got 2 and 3. Okay, so definitely something to work on, pulling those bits together. Should we try that together now? I'll count you in properly. So right hand A, G, tadiam. Left hand octave and a fifth. You ready? Here we go. Just nice and steady. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Getting ready. And tadiam. Okay, so something to work on. Top hand then carries on with C, B, G, but there's also a little grace note. C, C, B, G. Now grace notes are always optional. So you could just go C, B, G, and you just play that 1, 2, 3, okay? Or you can do the grace note. So you've got the C on its own, then put the 3 notes on and go 1, 2, 3. Okay. You might try different fingering there. Whatever works for you that doesn't feel too laboured on the grace note. It's not dum da dum, it's dum ba da dum. Okay. There's nothing happening underneath in the left hand other than it might be placing for what's next. So you don't owe the left hand anything when thinking about the fingering. So you could go 1, 1, 2, 3, which is how I find myself doing it. But you could go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and then leap if you really wish. Options. Okay, you have options there. Then we're coming back to the A. This is like the beginning of the line. It just doesn't have the rolled chord underneath it. You might have a 2 on that or a 1, depending where you've come from. So I find it comfortable to go to an A and with my thumb, and I'm confident that I can give a really good pluck. We are marked forte at this point. You may prefer to go 1, and get finger 2 on there so that you can be, okay, either or, whatever works for you is fine, okay. The reason a 1 worked comfortably for me is because in my left hand I've got another octave and a fifth, A, E, A. This time I'm going to play it downwards, so my first note is a thumb. So here I have 2 thumbs. Options. And then I have a talium, and this time my left hand is on G, B and E, while my top hand plays the B. And again, it's the last note of my talium that needs to land with that. Okay? Alright, so let's just try putting that whole line together with those 2 little upbeat notes. Yum, bum, ba. Just have a go, or choose one hand or the other to stay up with it. We'll do, in the play along video, I don't break it apart as much as this, so that's why I'm doing that now. Really help you feel like you're getting on top of it. So shoulders relaxed or released. Here's our count. We're going to go A, G, and then we're at the beginning of page 2. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Loud. Ready with the tarium? Tarium. Lots of space now. Okay, our next line starts very similar in the top hand. We don't have the big chord, we've just got the A dotted crotchet. Coming down to the B. Then we have the C, B, G without any grace note. Coming back to the C. And then moving down, 1, 2, and then you can decide, do you want to go with a 1 on this final A, even though it's a semi-breve, it's a long note. In fact, it's going to be tied on, so it's even longer than 4 beats. It requires a really beautiful thumb action to make that sound brilliant, or come in with a finger 2 and just also do a really brilliant finger 2 action. We just tend to find that more comfortable naturally. The left hand, just jumping into that last bar, as we're thinking, do we use 1, do we use 2? The left hand has these notes with that little cross above it again. So that is going to be thumb playing up high on the harp. And it's A, B, C, and they're metal strings on my harp and almost certainly will be on yours too. So it's different. Takes quite some playing for me, that sort of doing that movement, pushing with my fingers, trying to get that. Again, it's a very different sound from, you can hear that difference, can't you? So that's going on in my left hand, so that's a thumb. So that might then marry that it's quite nice to go and come in with my thumb, you can't see it, come in with my thumb under there in my top hand. Okay, so food for thought, make your own choice on what you can do comfortably, what you can do consistently. Okay, I do generally like 1, 2, 3, 1 because I haven't got to pull my 2 back out, but as you can tell from other parts in this piece, that's not an exclusive rule because I do that. And I do have finger 2 coming back out sometimes. So it's dependent on what makes it work. Okay, so going back to the beginning of that line, underneath this fairly familiar part of right hand now, we have a triad in our left hand, just A, C, E, really nice. Then keeping the thumb on the E, but opening the lower notes down a note, so we go G, B, E. This is like an E chord, but it's just an inversion of it. Then I'm going to come down to 1 and 2 on an E and an A, which helps to bring my hand heading lower down the harp as I then come all the way down here. I haven't got loads of room to lean on now, so I'm sort of leaning on my lowest strings. Okay, and notice I'm not trying to damp those. Not doing that, I'm letting them ring, just plucking them in a different part of the string. Okay, so that's the way I'm playing those. Brilliant. Lots to think about, lots to work on. There was a writ there as well in the last 2 bars. So an intentional slowing down, and that's separate from the rubato, so we're allowed to do that. So have a play with it, breathe into it, enjoy that feeling of space and how much easier these 2 lines feel. They fit brilliantly because it's such a breath of fresh air after that busyness of what went before. Just works really nicely. And yeah, enjoy and make your decisions on your fingers. And I'll see you on the play along video later on today to work at putting it together. All right, well done.